is another moment that I'm saying, how are you? Welcome back from the news break that we had in Dopadora, and thanks a lot for always being with us. I'm called Jimmy James, and this is East FM, and I'm more than excited. It's just like I've begun work, more so when I'm in the studio with a presidential material, a president to be. I'm talking about when you hear that song, Gumire DP, you know what it means. And in the studios, I'm with the Honorable, I like by the referring to as Chairman Mao. That's Chairman Norbert Mao is in the studios, and hope you are great as well, ready to listen. Let's first hear the people who are in the studios before I can bring you on board on the table, the big fish himself. I'm talking about the president of DP, Chairman Norbert Mao. Let me begin from this side. You're most welcome, sir, to the studios.
Thank you very much, moderator. I am by the names Kaikede Law John Stephen, the candidate for Tororo municipality. I greet you, the people of the municipality and listeners out there. Thank you very much.
And after him, there is another gentleman. Sir, you're most welcome to the studios.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. My name is Odongondelo Ambrose. I am the district chairman of the Democratic Party in this country. So viewers and listeners and viewers, if there are any, you are most welcome. Please pay great attention to what we are going to say, because this is a time when we are going to get back what we have lost.
Reclaiming, we shall get back to that reclaiming message by Mr. Ndelo. And on the other side, I've got a gentleman. You're most welcome. Let people know you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jimmy James, the moderator. I'm called Aluk George, parliamentary candidate, West Budama North. I'm glad to be in this station, and we are going to talk a lot.
And of course, you know, when the big fish in the house, the others speak minimally, and we leave the much of the other time to the big fish, either to do the swallowing or the spitting out. And by the way, I'm talking of a gentleman who has turned tables upside down in the political terrain of Uganda. And I'm talking about Chairman Norbert Mao. By the way, I'm not lying here. Hear his voice. Sir, you're most welcome to the studios.
Dear listeners and our host, Jimmy James, I'm honored to be on East FM 100.2. It is called Midundo Zaidi.
Yeah, that is what we are known for. Midundo Zaidi.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity to speak to our listeners tonight. And I'm also happy that we have veterans like Mzee Odongondelo, who always teaches us about the big shoulders on which we stand as DP. And by the way, it is in Tororo that Ben Kiwanuka was elected president of DP in 1958. And it is in Tororo that DP adopted the symbol of the fist, the clenched fist.
The Tororo where we are?
Yes.
This very Tororo.
It is memorable to that level?
Yes, and it is here that the symbol of the fist was adopted, meaning DP is for everybody. Catholic, Muslim, Anglican, all religions, all tribes, all colors. We even had an Indian who was a member of parliament called Yanabai Patel.
On a DP ticket.
On DP ticket. So Tororo is a place which awakens very good memories in the mind of every Democrat. And we also have younger people like Kaikede is here. These are young people. He's been preaching the word of God. Now he's preaching the gospel of truth and justice, which is also biblical, by the way.
Yes.
And George here, a young man, you know, a forest which doesn't have young trees is a potential desert. DP will never be a desert because we have old trees like Odongondelo, medium trees like me, and then the young trees like George. And then we have nursery bed called UYD, Uganda Young Democrats, from where we get the best seedlings and we plant in our forest of truth and justice.
Thank you so much. That is the voice of Chairman Norbert Mao. And by the way, let the title Chairman not overtake me as to a presidential candidate. Norbert Mao on the Democratic Party ticket is with us in the studios. By the listener, all I will request of you is give that listening ear. Listen to this message so religiously. And at a time T, one, we shall give you time to ask. Or if you don't get an opportunity to sail through that platform of asking, you will have an opportunity to make a decision based on what he told you. Either you were convinced or not. But for now, Honorable Norbert Mao, what does your candidature mean? What did you stand for?
In the life of every leader, there are two things. There is what is known as your worldview, how you see the world. And how you see the world depends on your vision and your values. Your vision is about what picture do you have in your mind. The other thing is how you see yourself. So, I'm happy to tell our listeners how I see myself. I am an instrument of God. When I tell people my own history, and I tell people that, look, my mother left me when I was 8 months old, and here I am. I went to a school that didn't have P7. The lower primary, we studied under trees. We wrote on the ground. But I ended up in one of the best schools, like Namilyango College. So my first message to the people listening to me, even before I talk about the election, is have a positive image of yourself. Be convinced that you are God's best. No one will trample on you if you have a good view of yourself. We live in a country where there's a lot of stigmatization. People think they are first-class citizens and they are second-class citizens. Those who are maybe in the so-called Greater North, including Tororo here, where I come from in Gulu, there has been a lot of stigmatization. And that stigmatization comes from assigning collective guilt on people. So if one Mudama does something bad, they say that is the whole of Badama. If one Acoli does something, they say, oh, the Acoli are like that. If one Munyankole does something, they say Banyankole. And that has been a challenge in our history. Idi Amin's crimes were West Nilized. And the crimes of the other leaders like Obote and Okello, they were generically Acholinized. One time I went to one of the districts near Luero called Nakaseke. After campaigning, I requested those who have questions to step forward. One lady raised her hand. She looked me in the eye and asked me, did you say you are an Acholi? I said, yes, ma'am, I'm an Acholi. Then she said, are you not the people who slaughtered us here? I said, madam, I know there was a war here, but I wasn't here. I don't have anybody's blood on my hands. My name is Norbert Mao. If there's any Acholi who killed anybody here, that's too bad, but you can't blame everybody. Then I told her, do you know that it is the grandparents of the current Kabaka who killed or who ordered the killing of the Uganda martyrs? Why do you think the Kabaka is welcomed in Namirembe and in Rubaga? It means a nation must outlive its past. You can't change the past, but you can change the future. So I see myself as an advocate for reconciling Uganda. I see myself as a soldier of truth and justice. Now, how do I look at the world? I look at the world in a certain way, and that's how I ended up in DP. I don't believe in violence. I'm an advocate of non-violence. So naturally, the only party I could belong to is the Democratic Party. Secondly, I believe that people should be under the law. DP has been the most consistent advocate of the rule of law. I believe that there should be a binding document on whose basis Ugandans can live together in harmony. Right now, I don't think there's any constitution worth talking of. The constitution was defiled in 2005 when it was hardly 10 years old. Recently, when they removed the presidential age limit, the constitution was wrecked. If a country is going to live together in harmony, there must be a binding covenant. Uganda,
and in this case, the constitution.
The constitution. The country we call Uganda is made of building blocks. Whether you call this place Bukedi, it is a building block. You call Buganda, Acoli, Kigezi, West Nile, and so on. Those are the building blocks. Like I always say, none of those building blocks applied to become Ugandans. The colonial powers simply fenced us in, imposed their will, and then said, you are now Ugandans. In 1962, we had a constitution which brought us together. Within 4 years, that constitution was torn apart. So, one man called Milton Obote and his party ruled Uganda as a virtual one-party state. Idi Amin came and imposed his will on Ugandans until a group of Ugandans met in the northern Tanzanian city of Moshi and declared what they call the Moshi spirit, what Uganda would look like after the overthrow of Idi Amin. That consensus collapsed with the 1980 elections. Some people went to parliament, DP went to parliament to fight within the constitution as it then was. The current president, Yoweri Museveni, and those who think like him decided to take up arms, and they went to the bushes of Luwero. There, they crafted also their own consensus, the Luwero consensus. Now, the Luwero consensus bore the fruit of the 1995 constitution, which was generally hailed as a good document because it had presidential term limits. We believed then that it was a cure.
By the which you were almost part of.
Yes, I was a 26-year-old young man, and I contested to be a delegate to the Constituent Assembly, but the voters preferred the former Vice President of DP, Andrew Adimola. I didn't cry. I was happy that he was elected. And that consensus, the 1995 Constitution, has collapsed. So Uganda needs a new consensus. Now, the party I belong to believes in defending the dignity of the human person. That's why we are always condemning killings. That's why, as I talk now, our army of lawyers are the ones fighting for the young people who are daily being dumped into police cells and prisons. That is why we are always defending the human rights of all Ugandans, irrespective of party. you'll find that it is even the DP lawyer who is the lawyer for the king of the Rwenzururu. That is who we are. We believe in human equality. We look at human beings the way you would look at money or legal tender. If you have a 1,000 shilling note and it is brand new from the bank, and you have another one which is old, dirty, torn, put together with glue, do you think the new one can buy more things than the old one?
The value is the same.
The value of this is the same. That's how DP looks at the human value. So before you ask me about my manifesto, policies are an expression of your vision and values.
Now, Chairman Mao, before we get to the issue of policies, like you've termed them as being values of which you want to this country to be driven on, it is also a say somewhere on the let me say on the streets or anywhere somewhere out there, that most of the candidates who have come to this race are simply obsessed with changing the leadership that is currently in power. How different is the ideology of Norbert Mao, the ideology of DP from that? And in case there is any difference in ideology, what change are you promising Ugandans?
I've not been afraid to speak the truth to all Ugandans. In fact, I have stated clearly that I'll tell Ugandans the truth whether they want to hear it or not. I am committed to speaking the truth to Ugandans. The environment in which we operate has forced many people to, you could say, to campaign largely about only removing an individual. I have gone beyond that. I consistently say that what we are battling is called Musevenism. Now, Musevenism can be unpacked into three. The first part of Musevenism is Museveni, the man, who we definitely have to evict from power. It is an important first step because he personifies the things that Ugandans need to get rid of. But if it was simply a question of getting rid of one man, look at all the money that we are spending in the campaigns. The cars, the fuel, the accommodation we have to pay, the large teams that we have. Would it not be easier just to hire an assassin to come and get rid of him? I think if surely we can find somebody who can accept that money to get rid of one man. But that wouldn't solve the problem. We want to get rid of him through the ballot, not through the bullet. Now, the other part of Musevenism is the machine he has built over 35 years. Many people talk about a party called the NRM. I don't think the NRM is really a political party. The NRM is like a project.
Do you doubt its existence?
It exists, but in terms of what a real political party is, it isn't. And I believe that President Museveni is like the main contractor of that project. Then he has subcontractors, those who you see here in the yellow color. So you could say he's the wholesaler. Then there are retailers,
Stockists,
and even hawkers. So I don't want to be misunderstood, but you go out there, look at the people talking in defense of the current system, and then you can identify who is a retailer, who is a stockist, and who is a hawker. You have Batembeis also. They really don't know where the product is made. They don't know what its real value is, but they do what they call tembea.
Others may not even be knowing the expiry date.
Yes, so that machine consists of the DSOs, the GISOs, the RDCs. Indeed, in my campaign, I rarely encounter real NRM leaders. I only encounter the state machine. So when you talk about change, you can remove the person, but the machine can remain the way it is in Zimbabwe. Mugabe went, but his system is intact. In Sudan, Bashir went, but his system is intact. In Egypt, Mubarak went, but his system is intact. So, unlike those candidates you are talking about who are obsessed with removing one man, I go beyond. So, Norbert Mao is not merely an anti-Museveni candidate. You could say I am a trans-Museveni. My campaign transcends Museveni, the man. Now, the last part of Musevenism is the mindset. Ugandans now are obsessed with the idea that you can't remove him using the ballot. Others think only God can save us from him. There is a pervasive fear of the machine called Museveni. So we are dealing with a three-part struggle: removing Museveni, the man, dismantling Museveni's machine, and curing Ugandans of the mindset that keeps them in bondage. So I am definitely not one of those candidates.
So you can't be put under that in that bracket of
There-
those
there-
who
I
are simply obsessed with removing
the party
Museveni.
I lead fights for democracy. DP was not formed as a party in response to Museveni's dictatorship. We are a party.
You've called this a dictatorship?
Yes, it is. And the symptoms of dictatorship are obvious.
Honorable Mao, you're getting into a ballot paper with the dictator?
Yes. Because a dictator must be confronted by a democrat. And only the Democratic Party represents democracy. We are not just fighting for Norbert Mao to go to State House. We want to uproot dictatorship and plant democracy.
And in this case, as you are pursuing that road, that means of uprooting, in courts, you've said a dictator. Those are Honorable Norbert Mao's words, not mine, a dictator. Do you have any laid down agenda? And in this case, I would call him a manifesto. Do you have a manifesto? And probably what could be some of those highlights in that manifesto of yours in your pursuit to uprooting a dictator, like you've said?
I will definitely share with the listeners some of the ideas which we hope to put in practice when we are in office. I've been told that some people want translation of what we are saying. I don't know.
Yeah, we shall summarize it briefly at time T.
That is okay. We have many people who speak Dopadola here. Now, we recently released the document. It's a pity maybe you didn't get it. But it said 5 pillars, 21 milestones, 45 million dreams. It's just a one-page document, which is really a condensed agenda for 2021 for DP. And the 5 pillars start with servant leadership. We can talk about water and so on and roads, but we need leaders who conduct themselves like servants of the people. Look at the arrogance we have wherever we go. Even in private companies. You go to a bank, You want to withdraw money, somebody behind the counter is taking tea with oil chapati. They just get hold of your check. They take their time. You go to a land office. They tell you you must chase your land title. Pensioners have to plead for their pension. In short, we don't just want to change leaders, but we want to change the very idea of leadership. Leaders have to be servants. That's the first pillar. The second pillar is about reconciling Uganda. This country is hurting so much. Uganda is deeply wounded. We need a leader with the tough-mindedness to understand the root causes of our divisions. We also need a leader with the compassionate heart that loves all and that has goodwill for all. So, reconciling Uganda is the second pillar. We have shared prosperity. Why is it that the gap between the rich and the poor is so wide? Eastern Uganda is considered a very poor part of Uganda. We have lots of minerals here in Tororo. BP believes that there should be revenue sharing. We believe that we should devolve resources away from Kampala. We should give a percentage of the national budget to government units that are below the national government. We believe that we must share the wealth of the country. It should not be dominated or captured by a small section. The fourth pillar is a new consensus. We believe that the founding covenant of Uganda, which collapsed in 1966, has been replaced by very fragile covenants. So the building blocks of Uganda need to sit together again. Uganda actually needs to be renegotiated. We insist on that pillar. In our manifesto, we unpack those pillars. There are some definite programs that we have. For instance, we promise a new constitution. Number two, we have programs of establishing a national health service based on a national health insurance scheme. We propose a national service for young people. I think young people from Tororo can go to any part of Uganda and serve. Nowadays, you grow up in Tororo, you study in Tororo, even university you attend in Tororo, you even work in Tororo. Unlike my father, who came from Gulu, went to West Nile in Nyapea, later came to Namilyango, we need Ugandans who are not confined in their little cocoons. We also have a plan on how to deal with the military. We believe that Uganda should open opportunities to young people who are about to join university. They can serve in the army for a minimum of 2 years, and in return, the government pays their tuition in university. After you have finished your university studies, you remain in the reserve force until the age of 55. What you call reserve today are retired soldiers. I don't know whether you can have that kind of reserve. The kind of reserve I'm talking about are people who have graduated, maybe they are 22, 23, they are working
elsewhere.
Even you can.
I can be in reserve.
You can be in reserve. So if there is any problem that requires military intervention, you'll receive a message.
I put down the microphone
and report to a training center for maybe 2 weeks of a quick refresher course, because there are always new weapons. You need to master them. And immediately you are deployed. But you can remain here and you are in charge of defending Uganda. There's no need for you to parade around in military uniform, because what's the use of parading around the streets of Tororo? If there's a problem, let's say at the border, all we say is Jimmy Jones.
Yeah, Jimmy James.
Yeah, sorry, Jimmy James.
Yes.
Those who don't know that you're a soldier, they'll just see you with a big rucksack on your back, with your gun, getting onto an aeroplane, a helicopter, and flying off. But that will be something common to everybody. I believe that will make Ugandans to value the defense of the country. We are proposing in response to the outcry about land grabbing, which I'm sure even in Tororo is a big problem. You know, open grounds are being stolen. I'm told even Lion Park is being eyed here.
Lions Park, Tororo?
Yes. So-called, you know, there are people who really love concrete. They don't want to see anything green. They think development means concrete. If they see grass, they think that is useless. So we are proposing to establish something called the Stolen Assets Recovery Tribunal. They are national assets. They are those hotels, Uganda hotels, that were grabbed. They are companies. We had Chillington, which used to make hose. Now we import hose. We used to have grain milling. We have Nightil. Now Nightil is no longer the Nightil that we knew. Those days we went to school, we put on shirts known as Yamato. And we all used to compete on whose shirt is the whitest. We used to have plastic cups made in Uganda. Now we have to import a lot of those things. There was a company called Tampeco. So we are proposing that those national assets that were grabbed.
But Chairman Mao, grabbed by who?
I was in Parliament and we carried out investigations on the privatization process. I can tell you, our national bank, like Uganda Commercial Bank, it was grabbed.
By who?
Those in power, President Museveni and his cronies. But that's not the point. The point I'm making is that we want those national assets back in the hands of Ugandans. And the way to do it is through a tribunal. We are not just going we are not grabbers. We are going to go through a legal process. There are lands which have been grabbed. Playgrounds, Nakivubo Stadium has virtually been grabbed. But we are not just going to wake up and pass a decree that it gets back into the hands of the Ugandan people with the government as a trustee. We are going to appoint senior judges who will adjudicate those complaints. There are also individuals who have been evicted from their land. All those are people who have the right to complain to the Stolen Assets Recovery Tribunal and get back their property. I am just from Teso. The outcry there is the endless promise of compensation of war victims, whether cattle, whether what. Every campaign, it seems President Museveni is suffering from memory loss. He forgets that he promised the same thing in the last election. Then he keeps promising. He's like a man who promised his wife a new dress last Christmas and then forgets and promises it again this Christmas. And then the wife says, but you have not even kept the promise of last Christmas. So we don't think the government is dealing with this issue properly. President Museveni and his government, in response to the outcry by victims of war who lost property, is simply appointing ministers. So you have a minister for Teso, minister for Luwero Triangle, minister for Bunyoro, the minister for Northern Uganda.
Do those ministerial creations and appointments fall below logic?
I think everything must be judged on whether it is achieving its objective. So the purpose of those ministries was to respond to the outcry by victims of armed conflict. Now, in my judgment, and remember, I was chairman of a local government in Gulu.
Yes.
And I can tell you that Ministry of Northern Uganda, it has a building in Gulu. The minister hardly sits there. In fact, it's lizards and cockroaches that are full in that office, and spiders, and there are cobwebs all over. Even termite is occupying there. We are proposing something different. We are proposing that we should enact a law titled the War Victims Compensation Act and create a War Victims Compensation Fund. That way, it will be systematic. It will fight corruption in so-called compensation. What we have today is basically a bonanza for the lawyers.
Okay, thank you so much, dear listener. You're listening to the voice of the man himself, Chairman Norbert Mao. Chairman Norbert Mao, for information, has been to Parliament, has led a local government at the level of LOC 5. Chairman Norbert Mao is the party president for Democratic Party, Uganda's actually the grand old party, and you've heard it is premised on truth and justice. And he is a presidential candidate running for presidency of Uganda, and he will be in the ballot paper come 14th January 2021. And he says he wants to offer servant leadership. Chairman Mao, how should people trust this servant leadership? More so that people have heard such a statement from others, and after some time they say, I don't work for you, I work for my family. How should people this time trust Chairman Mao saying he's offering servant leadership?
I am old enough to have my record examined. I am not so young as to pretend that I don't have a track record. Unlike some of the candidates who are very young, who have a very short leadership track record, you can track me right from the time I was a head prefect in Namilyango. You can track me from the time I was president of Makerere Students Guild, while other student leaders fight for food. We were battling government over important policies like the Structural Adjustment Program, which basically was a program by the World Bank forcing underdeveloped countries to sell off government assets and also to reduce government expenditure on social services. The bitter fruits of those policies are cost sharing in hospitals and privatization of university education. And we told the government that those policies would not work. I'm glad currently President Museveni is agreeing with what we told him over 30 years ago. You heard him recently because of COVID. He said that we need to protect our industry. We need import substitution. How do you do import substitution if you don't give incentives for industry? Basically, my track record dates from my student leadership days. I was a member of parliament. Now, I told you about the War Victims Compensation Act. When I talk about such an initiative, it's not the first time. We used to have something known as the presidential pardon, which was intended to pardon those who abandoned rebellion in the north and east. When I went to parliament together with others, we rejected the idea of the presidential pardon, and we insisted that there should be an amnesty law. Now, when I say Uganda needs servant leadership, I've exemplified it in my own life.
It is proven.
Anybody can challenge me and say, when you were an MP, you refused to do this. Now, when you say you are a servant, it means you put those you serve, those who have given you the mandate, at the center of whatever you do.
Thank you so much. That is Chairman Mao. By the way, I'm again getting back to you, the listener, that please keep taking note of whatever you're hearing from Chairman Mao, by the an astute political figure we've had in Uganda. And it is a very memorable moment that we are with him this evening in the studios. Chairman Mao, you've been crisscrossing, traversing different corners of Uganda. Have you at any time maybe encountered the issue of youth unemployment?
Every place I have been to, I'm overwhelmed by the large population of young people, and many of them talk about joblessness. That is true. Every year, over 400,000 young people enter the job market. But our economy seems to produce only 27,000 jobs. So the majority of the youth, those who are proactive, you find them making what you call Rolex, street food. Others sell their ancestral land, then they buy border borders. They come to town, they encounter police brutality, a small accident, they grab your border, and you have to pay a lot of money to get it back. I'm sure at Tororo Central Police Station, there are thousands of borders that are rusting. Many young people have pieces of paper, but no skills. So unemployment is a big problem in Uganda, and it is a time bomb. But there is a solution to unemployment. The first solution is in the education system. We need people with actual skills. Now, you as Jim James,
Yes.
you are a talk show host, radio personality, journalist. In a way, you are like a person who processes knowledge and information for the ordinary people.
That's true.
That's an actual skill, and there's a demand for that. Because there's no demand for somebody who can regurgitate who was the first missionary in Uganda, who discovered River Congo, how long River Nile is. So we must now focus on relevant knowledge. If you can repair watches, you are more valuable than somebody who can recite the circumference of the earth, at what angle the earth is tilted, how many times it rotates in a year, and the distance between the moon and the sun, So in our policy as DP, we advocate for what we call polytechnic education. We need people who can assemble computers. We need people who can assemble phones. We need tailors. There is enough market from schools for school uniforms. Who is making the I first encountered second-hand clothes in, I believe it was the early 80s. I never knew of second-hand clothes. Then they were called Bangladesh. Those who are old enough remember Bangladesh. It was actually a derogatory term because Bangladesh was created as a result of a conflict in India. And the country called Bangladesh broke away, and there were virtually millions and millions and millions of refugees. And apparently they were getting aid in terms of physical clothes from the developed countries. Before that, we had our local tailors. They always made for us our shirts. They made for us our shorts. So we need people with actual skills. As a young boy, I also had practical skills. I was a cobbler. I could mend shoes. I learned how to mend saucepans. I was a bicycle repairer. I had my small garden growing tomatoes and cabbages. So basically, we must have a reality check that it is no longer possible for somebody to go to school, cram their heads with all sorts of facts, and think that there's somebody who is going to give them a desk to sit on, and then at the end of the day, they get paid monthly. So our solution is what we call polytechnic education. Anybody who has something to sell will never go hungry. Even if you are capable of painting. I see a lot of people, they paint, they move around with their paintings, but the untapped opportunity in Uganda is in information technology. A lot of young people need to be redeployed in that area. India and China right now are ahead of us. Rwanda is competitive in the region. There are call centers that we can set up here. Government needs to invest in imparting relevant skills and then opening up opportunities in areas like farming. Farming is one area that our young people need to be interested in. And the government should also support cottage industries. People think an industry must be as massive as this one of the Chinese. I hear it is not producing anything. Is it the one which was for fertilizer? I don't think there's any fertilizer coming out of there. I don't know what it was for. But by cottage industries, I mean you can actually have a sugar factory which produces 100 bags every day. Small. You can have a shoe factory which produces slippers. China developed because there was some small factory almost in every village. People think that you must have something very big. Look at restaurants. We have the big restaurants that can serve hundreds of people, but we also have our small restaurants that serve 30 people daily. And they have enough cash flow to live on. They may slaughter only 3 chicken as opposed to the one which slaughters 100 chicken. So we must accept that small is also beautiful when it comes to the economy.
Okay. By the Honorable Norbert Mao, there is a moment it reaches and somebody sits and says, all the beautiful words have been spoken in a country. All the beautiful words one can think of have come out of potential leaders, have come out of sitting leaders, and have come out of people vying for these positions like you now. But at the end of the day, there is a very, very monstrous idea, a monster somewhere that keeps swallowing all this. And people have named that monster corruption. They have named that monster corruption. Now, if 14th January, Norbert Mao is entrusted with the vote of the Ugandans, and there is a monster called the corruption that people say is swallowing all the beautiful ideas like the ones you have. Do you have anything written anywhere in the Democratic Party Constitution or a manifesto that is going to tackle this monster?
Thank you. Actually, ending corruption is one of the 5 pillars. I had mentioned 4. Then I went to something else. I told you it's about reconciling Uganda, servant leadership, a new consensus, shared prosperity, ending corruption. Those are the 5 pillars of our manifesto. Now, corruption cannot be fought with words. Corruption has to be fought through personal example. I have come face to face with corruption before. In 2005, as an MP, MPs were offered 5 million shillings in order to remove the term limit for the president. 50 of us said no. The rest said yes. Now, it will be naive of me to think that you can just switch off corruption. But you can fight corruption by taking an uncompromising stand. I believe it is possible to fight corruption through personal example. As chairman LC5, I tackled corruption in the tendering process. This is a true story. Whenever tenders were opened, the successful contractors knew that somebody in the local government hierarchy must get a share of their earnings. And those who are eyeing that share of their earnings, they coerce them by delaying payment. They force you to keep chasing your payment. Then they demand what they call facilitation, which is basically a bribe. What I did was to tell the contractors that if payment is due and it has not been made, please write a reminder to the chief administrative officer and copy the letter to me. Every week, as chairman of the district, I would chair the district executive committee, and the heads of department in the district would be in attendance. It is in those meetings that I would raise these issues. Now, the corrupt are like cockroaches. They thrive in the dark. All you need is light. Once there is transparency. For instance, if the people of Tororo knew that this is the amount of money that you have received for this purpose in Tororo. If teachers knew that, by the way, your salaries have been sent to your schools, let the schools now pay you, there would be more accountability. And corruption hurts because it undermines service delivery. In our manifesto, apart from talking about personal example to fight corruption, as you remember, I'm the one who said in Parliament that fish rots from the head. And I said President Museveni is incapable of fighting corruption because he personifies it. And fighting the corrupt will be an endless battle because corruption is how this system of NRM works. If you remove corruption, NRM will collapse.
It thrives on corruption.
It is what buttresses the system. Actually, corruption is the fuel of the bus.
The bus, which is a symbol of NRM.
Yes, corruption is the fuel of the bus. So without corruption, that bus will get stuck and is not going to move.
Honorable Mao, you're about to succeed in confusing me here. NRM and President Museveni are all the time talking about corruption. There is even a State House anti-corruption unit. And again, it is a fuel for to the bus.
Well, have you never seen witch doctors who wear rosaries?
Honorable Mao, by the way, listen out there, please. This is the voice of Honorable Norbert Mao, presidential candidate.
But I was saying, you need to find, okay, why do we fight corruption? We fight corruption so that government is efficient, so that people are served better. One of the remedies in dealing with accountability and transparency, we have boldly proposed in the DP manifesto that we are going to give a percentage of the government budget to faith-based organizations and religious denominations. Everywhere people are discussing that proposal because nobody has ever thought about it. And I've said, these churches, mosques, and what? They have hospitals, schools. They employ people. Those they employ pay tax to the government. We are proposing that in a DP government, we are going to make them implementing partners. Surely, if I have a choice between a town clerk and a cow, and then the parish priest or a bishop, chances are that the bishop may have a sense of shame rather than a cow who is transferred every day, or a town clerk who just rotates. My parish priest, if he is told that this money is to build a teacher's house, chances that the teacher's house will not be built is almost nil, because the parish priest lives there and he lives in the community. He's always passing there. You see him every Sunday. And if the villagers know that this is what is expected, that proposal has been welcomed by all well-meaning people, and it has scared a number of people. The other thing is that now centers of corruption have increased. Districts are actually centers of corruption. I am sorry for those who love districts. I know people agitate for districts, but let them be honest and accept that they are agitating for district for other reasons, not for service delivery. I don't need a district in order to bring a hospital near you. I don't need, why must I have a district? Surely, won't a grader move if there's no district? Are you saying a bulldozer cannot start if there's no district?
So you're saying
all these roads that
a district is a center of corruption.
There were 13 districts only. And that's the time the basic infrastructure of Uganda was built. We had something called Public Works Department. So the idea that districts mean better service is actually a fiction. It is the biggest single lie. We had one district called Bukedi district. And it is under that one district that the basic infrastructure, some of the strongest bridges that are still there, that have never been washed. All these schools, like the Tororo Girls, Nabumali is in Bale, Toro College, it is under that one district that those things were done. Now, there is no birth control now when it comes to districts. You now have so many districts. The other day we had Palisa. Out of Palisa, then you have Butembo. Out of Palisa, then you have Kibuku. Then
Budaka.
Then you have Budaka. Then, has that really...
What would the Democratic Party government under Norbert Mao do? that now we have got districts that have mushroomed as a result of what you're calling no birth control? What would you revert the decision? What would you do?
You need to amalgamate them. Do you know how much money you spend on? Okay, people say you are creating jobs, but surely all those councillors studied to do something. Why are they not doing those things? You instead of having maybe 50 councillors for Bukedi district, I'm not saying we'd go back to the old Bukedi, but you can still have the key pillars of Tororo. You can have maybe Palisa and so on. That money which would be saved. Remember, you must have an RDC for every district. That means a brand new pickup, fuel and salary, escorts, operatives. Remember, you must have a diesel. You must have a GISO. Now, that is the kind of money which can pay teachers well. It can pay health workers well. So, we would believe in amalgamating these districts.
Okay, thank you so much, listener. By the way, we are running down, and in the studios is Honorable Norbert Mao. Before we can get to the rest of the program, allow me to take this very, very brief question to you, Chairman Mao. There is a talk out. You people are too segmented to evict, in your own words, to evict, to uproot a person who has been in power for 35 years, class system, too deep-rooted. You are too segmented. Any truth in such a statement?
Speaking for DP, I would say we have been the main promoters of unity of the forces of change. DP invested a lot of money in creating a platform for all opposition leaders. Even what you call people power, I think DP is the main stakeholder in that. We had what we call the DP reunion to bring together the young Democrats, as we then called ourselves. And it is in that platform that we used to invite all the opposition leaders. The leader of ANT, Mugisha Muntu, the leader of NUP, Robert Chagulanyi, many leaders from FDC. It was at one of our reunions that we endorsed the candidature of Asuman Basalirwa, Jema. DP has never been selfish. DP has always been generous with a heart for Uganda. We are the ones who came up with what we call the one-to-one model, insisting that one opposition candidate must face one NRM candidate. With that, we would actually get a majority of parliament. Many NRMs are going to sneak into parliament with 20% because you have too many so-called opposition crowded in one constituency.
So, meaning putting more, actually more flesh on the talk that you are segmented.
The fragmentation is because the people are thinking short term, not knowing that some of us have fought this system longer than, I could say, among the people now who are active in politics, it could be one of the few who have been very consistent in wrestling with this system. Consistently, without letting go. Now, the price of division is that we may not dominate parliament. Remember, we lost the constitutional amendment because we didn't have the numbers. All we needed was 35% plus 1 in order to defeat that motion. We proposed what we called regional targeting. Now, we have so many polling stations. No single political party has the resources to have a poll watcher or a polling agent at every polling station. we proposed that we should divide the country. DP can take some regions, NUP can take some, FDC can take some, so that we can guard those votes. We even tabled a framework for a grand people's coalition, a written document. So we owe Ugandans a big apology for failing to unite. But speaking for DP, I can say no one should even think about blaming DP.
Okay, thank you so much. By the listeners, you can get cocked on our phone lines there. As we just, let me take you to our, because we are streaming live this on our platforms. And someone here called Talik Aziz says, thanks for hosting Mao. But I would like to know from him, if they all can't unite and let one candidate face the other as it was the case in Kenya, is there still any other window that is available anywhere that you people can still come together and wrestle down the sitting president?
There are some talks going on. The subject of the talks is not yet about a single presidential candidate. The subject of the talks as of now is mainly about how to deal with police brutality and how to ensure free and fair elections. But in case it is upgraded to a single candidate, that will be a most welcome miracle. The only precondition is that it would require that all other candidates step down for that one candidate, and it must require a spirit of give and take. I think only DP has a heart for give and take.
Okay. Other people here online, we've got Richo Marcelona says, Mao, I wish you have a night at my home. I just like your points you make. Welcome in Tororo. Someone says, hi, thanks for that wonderful speech. I'm watching you live. Chosen Rachel says, Mao Oye, the best speaker ever. Someone here says, welcome our president. We love you and we shall vote you. So many. Moses Emodo says, thank you for hosting, Honorable. What will he do with the issue of dividing Tororo into 2 districts when he becomes president? He's watching us live from Western Kenya. That is how far we go. I think the issue of districts you tackled.
Yes, I tackled it, and I'm sympathetic to those who want districts. But it's the duty of leaders to educate their followers. And changing the minds of followers take time. That's why the children of Israel spent 40 years wandering in the Sinai desert. I'm told the journey is actually a journey of 11 days on foot.
But it took 40 years.
40 years.
So, Honorable Norbert Mao, just a very, very last one here as we are picking people on our lines. You've been cited on a number of occasions, just like maybe any other candidates as well, but I'm talking about Chairman Mao here, engaging in almost ugly scenes with security, and it has all been done in a pretext. Let me not use that word. It has all been done in the name of curbing the spread of COVID-19. What is your take on that?
As DP, we have been at the forefront of educating the public about COVID-19. We think COVID-19 is a serious epidemic. We, however, think the way the police is behaving shows that the objective is not really to curb the spread of COVID-19, but rather to put obstacles, to deny opposition candidates audience with voters. On any given day, Tororo market is full of people. They don't wear masks. They don't sanitize. They don't keep social distance. And I've never seen tear gas thrown at them. But when a presidential candidate arrives in a place, as it happened to me in Bulisa, they threw tear gas and it injured somebody's leg. We paid for the medical treatment. The other day in Kamuli, they threw tear gas. Fortunately, no one was injured. And then again in Mbale. As DP, we have not had very ugly scenes such as the one which is talking about an MOU. Now, if you have a law, you don't again talk about an MOU. There are traffic laws. Should every owner of a vehicle sign an MOU with the traffic police? I think that's the most nonsensical proposal ever.
By the chairman Mao, do you have any iota of trust in the Electoral Commission of Uganda headed by Justice Simon Byabakama Mugeni?
No. We are not in this election because we trust the Electoral Commission. After all, we know already that it is an unlevel playing field. I never get tired of telling Ugandans that though President Museveni is in the arena playing with us, but he's also playing the role of a referee. He's like a footballer who has a whistle, he can stop the game. He has a red card, he can throw you out of the pitch. And if it were to be a game of cards, you could say he has given himself all the good cards. The Masters, pick 2, 3, Joker, 8, J, even 7 of hearts. Then he gives us those bogus cards like K, Q. Then he says, sit and we play. How can you play such a match?
Let's talk to people now.
So the truth is we are in this contest not because we trust the Electoral Commission. We are in it because we trust the people of Uganda. And I wish to advise Justice Byabakama, stop behaving like Pontius Pilate. I saw his letter the other day, washing his hands like Pontius Pilate, telling the police that, look, please treat all candidates equally and so on. He should assert himself. Pontius Pilate was sitting as a judge. He should have made a judgment instead of saying, I find this man guiltless, but if you want to hang him, let his blood be on your heads and the heads of your children and their children. Then he symbolically washed his hand. So Justice Byabakama should avoid becoming Pontius Pilate
of these times. Okay, let's talk.
Of the 21st century.
Let's talk to, I will just kindly request you, Honorable Mao, to put on the headset so that we may clearly take these questions. We may clearly take these responses from our listener. The studio lines are open. Let's talk to the first person. Call, tell us your name, where you've called from, and your quick response. Hello. Yes, good evening. Find your name and where you've called from and your quick question. Yes, Senior MC from Nagongera. Quickly. Okay, thank you. That's a vote, I assume. A vote already. Hello, East FM. Hello? East FM. I'm okay. Your name and where you've called from, sir. Yes, John from Nyangole. Quick question. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Okay, thank you, John Vega from Nyangole. Says Mao. Oh yeah, yeah. You've won his heart already. East FM. Yes, please. Your name and where you've called from. Mary from Kachinga. So you're saying the candidates would, the Norbert Maos would come together and we front one person. Okay. Okay, thank you so much, Mary. Talking of forming a united force. Yeah, let's talk to someone. Good evening. Find your name. Stefano from Acoli. Yes, please. Yes, please. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, let's. I'm seeing a landslide here with these compliments coming in. Hello. Yes, your name? Yes, Joseph. You're welcome, Joseph. Oh, Joseph. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. I'm just too shocked that Chairman Mao has spoken and everybody seems to be behind. No one is asking a question. Everybody is saying, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And I'm lost for words. Maybe Chairman Mao will just have tell us the team is within the studios, words for the team in the studio, and last word to the listener.
Thank you very much. I very much appreciate the feedback. I'm humbled. As you know, DP is a party which has a lot of scars on its body. We are also rebuilding. I call upon those who have been listening to us to get in touch with our branch. We have an office in Tororo, opposite Lions Park. And our MP, Olo Kaikede, will speak. And also the young man, George, will also speak. And we will give the last word to the Muzee. I believe very strongly that political parties are important because they are like the sieve which sieves leaders. Some people say parties don't matter, vote capability, but how do you judge capability? Parties provide the minzani, we call it ratili, those days, for measuring capability.
Latiri.
Yes.
About which language you remind me of a very old word. Let's begin from George. George, just in the interest of time, you will use a minute. My big brother, Honorable George.
Thank you very much, Mr. Amalai Jimmy James, but I would like to talk in Dupadola.
Please.
After swag my doing the radio, Same, or for this what I take, or for my Mende Bedunagongara, Anangati Luangana, Luki George, Mabechungu, West Budama North, Kapar Gangwen, Idwemara, Chiel, Yaluin, Chodo, Luki George. I want to youths, Mawinti, Pinikoro, don't leave it for me alone. Me alone, I cannot fight it, but together we shall fight it. I always tell you that the frog, a revolution begins from the mindset. A frog can climb a tree should it change its mind. Let that time come. We are going to be together. I know we shall be together. Wabed kanya chiel nyalwedu kutienda lowo. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Yes, Kaikede, just a minute, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, the moderator, Mr. Amalai. For the people of Tororo Municipality, Kaikede Olo, John Stephen is my name, and I'm contesting for the post of MP, Tororo Municipality. And you have heard the big brain, that is our president, Norbert Mao. And you know, as a son, I'm being mentored by him. And when you hear such a sweet voice from him, given opportunity to be the member of parliament for Tororo Municipality, I will stand on the principles of the DP, and you have heard about our manifesto, and that's what I'm going to stand for. And I request you come 14th January 2021, vote Honorable Kaikede Olo John Stephen for the effective representation, and I will help the people of Tororo in everything. So may God bless you as you vote, you plan, and you make a decision to vote Honorable Kaikede Olo John Stephen.
Thank you.
God bless you.
Thank you so much. Let's have 1 minute, Mzee Olo Ndelo, just Odongo Delo, please, 1 minute.
Jumaju winjo radio, yado wedwara dieri, witie kunwanga dieri, kona dieru bino. Gima widonge ne, aloka dieri no, gima tiyo. Kama bedi ngunya ka gikacha, yate kono bino ruwano. Gima neko wan giwin, nendo wach kiri kama wabedi ni, pesa. Kaja candidate boro biro wacho ni imiyo wanango iwewe meno mere inyiewo chandruok. Ile misiri nga bichi tiki didwani duto yath ngoye iriwo ngudu mutopi itibu nedi meno mere ongoye gima wanwe kidho gwit koro ni yath obino. Aka yath bobino meno mito yik le yika ika giboro je. Tuodo maero giche adhum manitie ye obedo tuodo. Kapo yo wina chen. Jaduong ma pama bwawuok wachuru win wamito ni obwei wairewere wakwanyego chango bunyo owuok dudi mungwondo wane olwenyore joma okwal kwir owacho ni jola machol majubedi ya dhom hongo mabor ajuma kelo teko i Afrika go pamiti ko bedo Europe de gauchiel meno fodi go wachino ko se will gine.
Thank you so much, Papa Odongo Ndelo. The name is now in me. Thank you. Let me just take the opportunity back to Chairman Mao as he gives the people of Bokedi his final words in just 2 minutes, sir.
In saying goodbye, I want to thank you, our dear host.
You're most welcome.
For your kindness. I want to thank our listeners. I want to thank my comrades in the struggle for truth and justice who have accompanied me. I want to thank the people of all the places where we have been, starting from Malaba and Nagongera and just outside our office here, and particularly the women of Tororo. I want to thank East FM as an organization. We want to encourage you not to give up. Our Lord Jesus Christ left us over 2,000 years ago. He said, I'm coming back soon. Up to today, we are waiting. Whenever we gather, we pray endlessly. Thy kingdom come, thy kingdom come, thy kingdom come. We don't give up. Why should 35 years of NRM discourage us? 35 years only? Why should we be demoralized? Let us persist until we have a government founded on truth and justice. Our symbol is the hoe. George's symbol is the hoe, West Budama North. And Tororo Municipality, Kaikede's symbol is the hoe. It is the hoe which feeds us. It is the hoe which educates us. It is the hoe which gives us medical treatment. And when we breathe our last and we die, it is the hoe which buries us. Even the man who calls himself Pakalas, the hoe is waiting for him. Because only God is Pakalast. Because God has no beginning and has no end. please vote for the Ho. The Ho has been elevated by COVID-19. The buses were packed in the bus park. They couldn't move.
And fists are the defenders.
Yes, the key was rusting in the door because there was a lockdown, no getting out. Only the Ho was getting out to feed us. Thank you very much, people of Tororo. May God bless you.
May God bless you. And